this predator that we all had. You know, he's purposely set himself among young boys to be able to do this. I mean, it's clear by what he did in Indianapolis.
I went through the entire grooming process until the very end. The last stage in the grooming process is sexualizing the relationship.
Yeah. What do you think stopped that last stage? I met you in the basement of a church in the hood at an MXPX concert, man.
Was it MXPX?
It was MXPX.
Okay,
that was the first concert that I think I ever went to when I moved to Indiana, because I moved from South Texas. So what's all that lifestyle about, man? I know your dad ran this crazy venue. This was crazy.
Yeah. He started a music venue in 1990 or 91. I think they were renting a location before that place. I cannot remember the name of it. I was pretty little. The only thing I remember from it is they had this tiered seating at the back of the room, and then they had like food. It was basically like a restaurant, and they had concerts. Yeah. And I just remember like the spud potatoes. The spud potatoes. You know, like this big giant potato with like cheese and sour cream. And to me, I was like fairly little. I was probably 8 or 9. And I just remember these like massive potatoes from that venue. Yeah. But then he got connected with Calvary Chapel here in Evansville, and they had this like beautiful like old church down in the hood. And then they basically loved my dad's ministry and what he was trying to do, reaching, you know, back in the early 90s. Like, it was okay to be a racist skinhead. It's not okay, but they were walking around like, without getting wearing their like Nazi brands.
Yeah, without getting beat up everywhere they went.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't do that today, thank God. But it was a pretty hateful music scene. Yeah. A lot of the music scene, had a lot of those elements, kind of people coming out to those shows.
Remember like Kirkwood, remember that dude? The guy that ran into the Muslim temple? That's the guy, kind of guys you're talking about. And he was actually kind of a part of that scene. So yeah, John Kirkwood, for anybody looking it up. Whatever happened to that dude?
I don't know. I mean, he spent some time for what happened with the Islamic temple. Yeah. But, yeah, so then we actually we moved the venue into the basement. The church offered the whole basement. And still today, we're still really involved with Calvary Chapel Evansville. They actually are supporters of my wife and I and our kids in the ministry work that we're doing. And that's where you were, where we saw each other. Yeah. Was it called the Rev then? It went through a couple different names over the years.
It was called the Coffee House when I first went there.
So that was early days.
That was early days. It was the Coffee House.
We didn't have coffee. Yeah. It was just called the Coffee House, and it was only like shows.
Like sodas and chips and
chips and candy bars and
stage
punk and metal bands.
High fives and all the crazy.
A lot of grunge and shoegaze stuff, back in those days. Mm-hmm.
And
then we changed the name to the Rev, and then we started selling coffee. Yeah. So,
yeah, I remember the name change. I remember that. And I remember one time, it was so crazy. Your dad's such a cool guy. Like, for those of you that don't know, like Jesse, I've known their family for a long time. But I remember one time there was this guy, and we might have to bleep the name, but we called him Praise the Whore. Do you remember that guy? The guy that had the long hair and a big buffy dude that tried to like fight your dad. Do you remember that?
Oh. Yes.
Do you remember that stuff?
I don't remember that name though.
That's what everybody called him. He was like this big giant like dude that would go around wearing spikes all over him, and he would hurt people and stuff. And one day your dad, I think, went to approach him. You'll have to ask your dad about this conversation.
I have a vague memory of this happening. Didn't you guys pull him off?
Yeah, we pulled him off and like choked him out and threw him outside. And he, I guess your dad forgave him and let him back in probably the next day, but like that's how your dad is. But that was a crazy venue, man, crazy times. And I remember like there was a lot of Christianity flowing through that after you guys kind of got involved. I mean, you guys kind of took a different approach to all of that, how you ministered to those people.
Yeah. 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 We would do, back in the early days, the Bible study was at our house. Yeah. And so he would promote the Bible study. and a lot of. I mean, I have memories of like 60, like 80s and 90s punkers, and just sitting in our living room.
Yeah.
There's one cool memory I have. We were little kids, so we actually, how are you supposed to go to sleep and go to bed when there's like 60 teenagers in your living room? So we wouldn't go to sleep.
Right.
And I remember peeking around the corner, looking down the steps, and there was this skinhead guy, and he was on his knees at the base of the steps, and he was just weeping. I think he had the F word tattooed across his knuckles. But he was just weeping, giving his life to Christ. So, just lots of crazy, cool memories, seeing, my dad really making a huge difference in a lot of people's lives back then.
Big time, man. I remember going to the concerts. I mean, you guys had some big names in that venue, like POD even.
POD.
Yeah.
I mean, we had like the big 90s Christian alternative stuff come through. Yeah. I don't remember all of them.
In a basement of a church, and it was wild. I mean, some of these concerts would be from the front to the back. You couldn't barely stand in there.
It wouldn't be. Yeah. It would not be fire code.
It would not be fire code. It was fun though. It was a blast, and that's where we kind of connected a lot of that, because I was in a band with my cousin. You know him. You hung out with him the other day.
Yeah, we just went fishing.
We went fishing the other day. So yeah, I mean, we played.
Caught nothing, but lost my sunglasses.
That's true. And this room right here we're in, even, man, has a weird connection, because I think this room might have been one of the rooms that we did like our Revelation class in, or one of our classes in. This room right here. Yeah. This room right here. And it's crazy because me and you, we grew up kind of together. Both of us Christian, I would say. I think that I was a little bit more rebellious in a lot of my ways, just because I think that I grew up. I mean, we both had our times, dude. I know you were just as wild as I was in a lot of ways too. But, growing up with both of us missionary ministers' kids, it's like one of those... Yeah. One of those things that's really hard to live up to standards that other people might have for you, so you just kind of give up on those things. And I think we were both kind of like that. But in the same token, we stood up for, the gospel. We tried to the best we could, even though we didn't really understand, I think, a lot of what we were doing. And we ended up in Bible college together, man. And so all of these years kind of led to this situation that I think was profound for both of us in a way. It was like one of those situations that set both of us on different paths that went almost completely opposite, but then they ended up kind of molding back together through those processes. And I don't know if you want to talk any about that whole situation, because this is one of those things that I know is really a touchy situation for you, but at the same time, like for you and for me, this was like one of our transitional moments of like kind of figuring out what we're made to do, And so I don't know how much you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I talk some about it.
Okay.
You talk about being basically missionary kids, local missionary kids, and then the expectations that people see and put on you and have for you. I wonder, maybe I should wonder more often about my own kids, but for me, so like I mentioned that story about the guy just like crying before the Lord in my house. So I would see that kind of ministry stuff, but then, like my parents were sort of like the black sheep of the missionaries at the church. Not the Calvary Chapel. There was another main church that we also attended. And I don't know if it was just because it wasn't a pretty ministry, like back in the 90s, it was still like that freaks and geeks kind of vibe, like that kind of division. Now there's, the culture is more blended, and, like I remember I'm in Aldi and I hear music from when I was listening to rebellious music, but now it's just pop music.
For sure. It's more popular to be that kind of alternative culture now. I think it's more acceptable.
It's more acceptable. Yeah. It's okay. That's your flavor. And we're cool with that. It was a bit different back then.
Yeah.
So I don't know what all the issues were, but, I saw like a lot of Christian adults that were in my life as like, just from being around church and all that. And, I also went to the same school that we went to church at. And I don't know. There was just like this. There's just this tension there that I didn't know or understand, and I would see how like my parents were being treated, or some of the frustrations, that I would hear them talking about in the other room, and just kind of feeling, never on that inner circle, and that gave me a lot of like, it's just like, well, we're in this together. Like, as a kid, I was having that mentality with, my parents' work in ministry. And honestly, so, I would see those kinds of things. And then that was kind of like, I don't know, maybe it was the enemy. Maybe it was Satan. I don't know. Just, planting seeds of bitterness within me. And then actually when I was 14, my sister was diagnosed with Down syndrome before she was born.
Yeah.
And so then I saw that as like a punishment from God. And I was just like, God, I was like, my parents, like feel like these black sheep in the church. But I see the things that they're doing in my house. I see the things that they're doing at the ministry. And, I was just like, that really started my journey of just like, I don't know God. That was the first time I ever swore, is the night that my parents sat us down and told us that Tess was going to be born with Down syndrome. And, it shook me.
Yeah.
It's actually still emotional to talk about, like putting my mind back in that place to talk about today. So, that night, I just kind of got up from the table when we were having that conversation and just like walked outside. And you ever seen that movie, Saved?
I don't think so.
I don't even remember who's in it. Macaulay Culkin's actually in it.
Oh, really?
Some other
good old Home Alone, Macaulay Culkin. Yeah, I've never seen it. I've never heard of it.
Anyway, some of that movie actually resonated with this moment in my life, because she, I won't go into all the story of the movie, but she also swears in front of a cross, and she's like kind of dealing with her own thing. And that was my experience. Like I stood up, and this was years before the movie Saved came out. I stood up and just like stormed out the door. And I was just like, why? I was like, I see what my parents are doing, and like I feel some of what they're giving up to be able to do what they're called to. And then this is how God rewards us, is with like a handicapped baby. And I didn't even know what Down syndrome was, but I knew it wasn't like
well, yeah, you just
the right way to be born, right. So, I went outside and I swore, and I just kind of stopped and I stood still and I looked up at the dark sky, and it was just silence. And I was just like, God, are you mad that I just said that? And there's just more silence. And anyway, so that was really kind of the start of my frustration. Any of those bitter seeds, were kind of, they started to sprout a bit more.
Yeah.
Also being a young teenage male.
Yeah.
Back when there was less fluoride in the water.
Yeah.
More testosterone flowing.
Yeah. I can connect with that too. Cause probably around that same time, like, growing up in different churches, going from church to church, if my dad would preach at this church, or you go here, like the quarrels and the stuff that I would hear about, and the things that would happen that I would hear about were just horrifying. I mean, horrible things that you would never expect a pastor or somebody like that to be doing. Like I would hear about those things, and not because I was a sneaky kid, I would, be listening to parents' conversations. It's not something that they're including me in, but then I started to get that same way. And I think around the same time we were probably going through the motions, playing in the Christian band, because that's the only way that we could continue playing, at least for my family. If I would have been playing in another kind of band, my mom and dad would have been like, nope.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents allowed us to tour it at an early age. We're talking like teenagers and all that. So it would have been kind of hard to get out, but same kind of scenario, man. Like that stuff was bothering, but except for, in my situation, there were other situations that I'm sure we'll get to at some point that caused me to feel that bitterness, like God was abandoning me. But I know that feeling. And I'm sure that like probably a lot of people that are actually listening to this broadcast go through things like that all the time. I mean, even me, I feel like as a as a believer that I've been really strong and tried my best to do everything I can to serve the King and to live in His grace and to move and move people. There are still times when I think, I'm like, God, where are you? Like, where are you in this situation? And so that's an important thing for people to hear. And so fast forwarding forward now, not really fast forwarding, but you're moving through that situation. What decided to make you go to Bible college? Because I know for us, both of us were still in the same world at that time. And I remember what caused me to want to go to Bible college, but I'm curious to hear what was in your mind.
Yeah, so it actually goes back to when I was around 12. I was at the church, and then a guy named Derek Hayden came in.
I remember Derek.
And Derek is the guy that started New Beginnings.
Yeah.
And he also started Parlor Donuts.
Yeah.
So if anybody out there has a Parlor Donuts, check out their website.
Keto donuts are good too.
Map and find one in their city. So that was started here in Evansville by Derek.
Their keto donuts are really good, by the way. And Derek, we could use some like sponsorship for this video, by the way. Parlor Donuts, just so you know. Yeah. Anyways, there we go.
So Derek started. He's the guy that started Parlor. He went to Calvary Chapel Bible College, and then when he was early 20s or normal age.
Yeah.
And he had just come back, and so he had been around my dad's ministry. He had been in and out after he gave his life to Christ as a late teen. I don't know how old he was. I don't know his full story, but he was a friend with my dad, and so he stopped by the church and was talking with my dad. And I was 12. He was introducing my dad to his wife, and I think I don't know if they were married yet at that time or not, but I just remember it was kind of like the first time I feel like the Lord really spoke to me. And I call it like a Holy Spirit knowing. Mm-hmm. Like it's just something that I just kind of knew. I am supposed to go to a Calvary Chapel Bible College. So then you fast forward until, I was 19. No, I was maybe 18. And I was walking with the Lord better again by about 18. I still had some, frustrations and struggles and hadn't worked through, a lot of stuff yet, but I was, trying to pursue the Lord. I had kind of my own road to Damascus experience. Mm-hmm. And so my goal then, I was already playing in bands all the time. And the band we were playing in, I think at that time was Morning by Morning. Yeah. And we were really wanting to go full time.
By the way, that was. You guys still have stuff online, Morning by Morning?
I have no idea,
dude. Those were some wild times, concerts.
Yeah, I mean, anybody's welcome to look it up.
Yeah,
Morning by Morning, MORN by MOURN.
Yeah.
So as we were hoping to go full time with that. And I had thought about Bible college, but it was all the way out in California, and that would mean leaving the band that we were really trying to build and play in. And so I didn't go. And then one night, so basically all I did was I just had a job. I played in the band. And then my plan at that moment in life was to wait till I was old enough to apply for the police department. Okay. And so Derek came in to the Rev, and so I would work at the Rev on the weekends. Whenever there were shows, I would work the gate, or I'd run sound, or whatever it was that my dad wanted help on. And so Derek came in to the Rev again, or to the Rev for the first time, to see Dad and chat with him again. So that was 12 to about 18, so 6 years later. And he was like, yes. So at this point now, Derek had started New Beginnings Church. Yeah. And he's like, we just bought a building on the west side. We're moving out of the rental space in the shopping center, and we just bought this like awesome property. We're moving in, like now it's happening. We're also putting in a Calvary Chapel Bible College extension campus.
Whoa.
And then it hit me. I just felt like the world kind of went, woo, like the Lord reminded me of, what he spoke to me 6 years before that. So Derek leaves, and I was sitting in the back kitchen of the venue there, and I was like, Dad, I was like, where's Derek's church? He's like, I don't know. And I was like, I'm supposed to go to this Bible college. And he's like, well, let's find him. I don't even have his phone number. So we like ran out to the parking lot, and you just see Derek's taillights kind of like leave.
Yeah.
And then so we had like a 68 Volkswagen bus with those. It's called like a pancake
I remember your
engine.
dad's.
It is not a fast car.
Yeah.
So we like hop in the Volkswagen bus, and he's like, like trying to catch up with Derek. And we like caught up with him. We got the address, and then we came out the next day, and then I applied for the Bible college.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up in Bible college.
You know how I ended up in Bible college? It actually wasn't you telling me about it. It was a guy named Rocky, or we both were friends with. He's gone now. You know that he passed in a motorcycle accident. I was roommates with a friend we both know named Sky, and he came over to the house, and I'm not sure if you were with him or not, but he was talking about he was going to Bible college. And like in my mind at the time, I was really kind of just figuring out, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now.
I brought Rocky to Evansville.
You brought Rocky to Evansville. So inadvertently, you're the reason I went. But Rocky was talking about it, and he was kind of like a fresh believer. It seemed like he was like really on fire for God. And I'm at the time thinking, like, what am I supposed to do here? I have no idea, like, where I'm supposed to go, whatever. And so I ran into this guy, and he's talking about it, and I'm like, maybe I should try this, because I'm trying to find God. I'm trying to figure out, like, what I'm supposed to do. Like, I feel clueless in this world. I'm just kind of out here partying every day and going to concerts and working, you know, night jobs, or working, you know, serving tables or whatever. And so I was like, I'm going to give it a try. And so that's how I ended up here. Both of us, once again, our paths crossed. Because, I mean, there's always been that times of intersection, and where, you know, you'll go this way, I'll go this way. But our paths crossed again here. And this place here, even though, like, there were experiences here that I could say, like, I didn't really enjoy, and I didn't enjoy getting kicked out. This was a transitional phase for me, that if I had not gone here, I would have, who knows what would have happened. You know, like it set me on a path, and it sets you on a path too.
Super foundational for me.
Yeah. It's crazy what happened. I mean, like, just like, to be perfectly honest, like, to think about like the setup that we had here, which was amazing in many, many ways. Like, I'm talking like the building here where we're sitting right now, there's a bad to the bone freaking lake out back that you can do trapeze. There's all that. The people here are just like super kind, but little did we know that there was something in the back end going on. Not really on the back end. I don't want to blame it on like anybody, because it's one person, but one person that we were supposed to trust was a predator. I mean, straight up here at this college right here, which is not a college anymore, but right here is so freaking crazy to me to think about, because that sets you on your mission quest for a decade, maybe, right? How long were you in Africa?
Oh, I don't know. We were there from 2010 to 2011 for about 13 months.
Oh, I thought you were there for a few years.
And then we were back from 2016 until 2023.
Okay, yeah. So a long time. You were in Africa, but that set you on your quest, and it set me on a quest too, because like, and we'll talk a little bit, we can get a little bit more into it, but like, when I got kicked out, I thought I took it as God could care less about me. Like, I was like trying to search him. I remember being upstairs, like, you know, on top of the roof. You know how we could get on top of the roof? I would be like on my face crying for God. Like, I'm like, show me something, show me you care, anything, like whatever. Yeah. And then I get kicked out of Bible college. And so like, for me, it was a moment where I turned really bad for a long time. Like, I went a bad way. And I know for you, it was a really hard time for you too. Little did I know, I had no idea that the kind of stuff was going on. Really not until years later did it all start to make sense.
3 years later what was happening.
Yeah.
That I was in that.
Yeah. You know, to explain that situation, man, because people are probably like, what in the world are they talking about? This is crazy.
Yeah. I don't know how much to talk about it.
Well, you don't have to talk about anything too intimate, but like, honestly, I've heard you talk about it, and like the details aren't,
some things came out, you know, years later. Actually, it wasn't even that long later. That guy that was in charge of the Bible college,
the dean of students,
ended up taking the same position at a bigger extension campus in Indianapolis. Some other things came out there, and he was fired. But then, like, if you fast forward a bit from there, that's when I started getting like more curious about, like, you know, I'd seen some things living in South Africa, and then some some things that, as we ran the coffee shop, music venue, radio station downtown, just some things from people on the street and stuff that I noticed. I started wondering, like, surely there's ways to tell, you know, like I'm really big into like body language,
right.
You know, like that stuff just kind of fascinates me.
Yeah.
Things, seeing the unseen things, you can actually see them.
Yeah.
So every leopard has its spots, kind of a thing. So I started kind of like reading and getting really interested in, like, surely if there's like a sexual predator, there's signs, there's things that we can see, behavioral patterns. Like we got to be able to see its spots. What do the spots look like on an animal like that?
What's the signs? I mean, that's a really important thing that I feel like they should teach that early on in life to kids, because anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, well, there's like the grooming process, depending on what thing you're reading on it. There's like 7 or 8 steps in the grooming process, grooming an individual. And so
it wasn't until you learned all these things. Yeah.
I had thought that I escaped a lot of this, and my relationship was a little odd, but we were like crazy guys.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, we were playing in metal shows on the weekends, and
we all joked around a lot anyway.
Joked around, you know, stupid stuff. Like, you know, my brother was in the band with us, and like our best friends were in the bands, and just dumb stuff like,
oh yeah.
I don't know if I should be admitting this publicly. We were like on the road, bro, and it's just so boring when you're traveling from show to show. Yeah. And I stripped naked and like jumped across the dashboard. Just dumb stuff like that.
Oh man, yeah. I was in the bands too, man. I mean, people need to realize too, we were together like every waking minute of the day, jam packed in freaking touring vans, sharing the same room. So like, there's always those stupid moments, but it wasn't gay moments. It was moments of just being silly and stupid. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And so, like I said, that friendship with this guy, you know, it had its odd moments, you know, looking backwards, but we were just crazy dudes at the time.
Should we name this guy? Or I mean, so people, if they're,
he's dead now.
He's dead now. So his name's Moxie, right? Moxie. What was his last name?
Moxie was his last name.
Moxie was his last name. Moxie was his last name. What was his first name?
David Moxie.
I didn't even know that about him. So we just called him Moxie. Little Irish dude. He was actually like, that's the crazy thing about it. Scottish. But the thing about it is, like, I never, not in my wildest dreams, suspected that personally.
Yeah. So some other things came out that, you know, things went a lot further.
Yeah.
At the next place that he was at.
So before we move on, you were experiencing, what you're saying is, once you learned about some of these things, you started to...
So that was my experience in Bible college, which I didn't think a whole lot about. And then I started studying this, like the grooming process and these things, as I was, you know, gearing up to, like, you know, is there something I could do to, you know, counter what's happening to people with these predators. And then I was on my brother's porch downtown, and that was in that season that I was like studying all this, and dude, it just hit me like out of nowhere, just like a ton of bricks. I went through the entire grooming process until the very end. The last stage in the grooming process is sexualizing the relationship.
Yeah. What do you think stopped that last stage?
I think that he knew it just wasn't going to work out.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't on my radar.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's like isolation. That's part of the process. And honestly, I think that's one of the big reasons why you guys were kicked out, because we were such best friends. So he was trying to isolate my friends.
Well, if you think about why we got kicked out, like, I never really understood it, because we were going to play a concert here at the lake. The next day there was like a big concert going on, like a festival of some sort. You remember that?
Yeah.
The reason given was because we stole the golf carts and rode them around the property as if we did something horrific. And It was just like one of these things that Moxie was like, I can't, you guys would do something like this. You know, like just real adamant. Yeah. I'm like, dude, like I was just at that point, like I was so close to saying more than I should have about it because I was upset. Like, I was like, this is ridiculous, dude. Like, all of you guys, like, in my mind, I'm thinking all these dudes are freaking prude idiots. Like, I'm done, you know? Like, I can't believe I would get kicked out for riding a golf cart around the thing. And now looking back on it,
there were a few other things, but
well, I mean, looking back on
discipleship.
Like, I mean, I'm not saying I didn't deserve to be kicked out for something. I mean, sure, if you were looking for a reason to kick me out, I'm sure that all of us probably had some point or another, but it makes sense now. Like, it didn't make sense before. Like, it made no sense. Yeah.
So, and that kind of rocked me for about a week.
Yeah, it rocked me too. Like, it was like crazy.
Me going, you know, like, that dude took me through all the stages of this process that I've been studying about.
Me and my cousin JP were probably the biggest problem that he had in reaching you in the way he wanted to reach you. And that's what I would think, because we were the ones that got kicked out. And then who else was left in here after we were gone, dude?
I don't remember, bro. I mean, I was in 2001.
I know. 9/11. I remember we sat here is it this room?
Yeah. Well, we were down in our prayer class at like 7:30 a.m.
Yeah.
What started at 7:30 a.m.
Yeah. And
then someone came running down and like, you guys are never going to believe what happened.
Yeah.
It's like, it's on the news right now. So we all came up to it's now called Lakeside Kids Room in the church.
Yeah.
And back in those big old TVs.
Yeah. We were all like, we all wanted to join the military after that. Remember that? We were like, we're gonna sign up.
I'm pretty sure like 90% of America did.
We did, and I think the people here at the Bible college were like kind of freaking out. They're like, oh, we're gonna lose all our Bible college boys. So they just kind of like, listen, guys, you know, like try to calm us down from it, because it was crazy and we didn't know what was going on. I mean, we were young, but. Yeah, dude, it's so nuts when I really think about like how all that happened and how it was such a good thing for both of us in a way, even though it seemed like so freaking bad at the time. Like, for me, it was like, I took that as like God saying, look, I don't care about you, bro. Like, go on your way, you know? Yeah. And you took it as like, you didn't know what was going on at all. Like, so for you, it wasn't even like the issue that we got kicked out. I'm sure wasn't I'm sure after we left, it wasn't the same place it was after all of that, and he had more access to you. And I'm sure that looking back now, the manipulation and stuff like that played a big toll on you, but unknowingly why, you know? And so it's crazy to look back on that, dude. And that's why I'm glad we've had this conversation before, because in my mind over many, many years, like, I'd already forgiven all the people that kicked me out. I really didn't care. And I realized like it was a good thing for me in the end, because it set me on a path of darkness that I didn't know how much I needed the light until I was able to even see through that. You know what I mean? So like, it was a good thing for me, and God was maybe protecting me from this predator that we all had. You know, he's purposely set himself among young boys to be able to do this. I mean, it's clear by what he did in Indianapolis. I mean, he had relationship with 2 or 3 boys there. Yeah. Wild stuff, man. So it's crazy that we're back here in this place, and that's really like, it's a transitional, but it, like, at the same time, like, I can look at it as a great moment.
Such a great picture of God's like redemptive,
for sure,
his redemptiveness.
Yeah, we're like the fact that we're back here,
our story, bringing us back.
Yeah, we're back here in one of these very rooms where it like transitioned for both of us hardcore. It's weird to think about.
What's crazy is Moxie was, dude, he was an excellent Bible teacher.
Excellent.
Crazy. It was crazy how good of a Bible teacher.
Very charismatic, likable.
Yeah. And the insights that he would draw, you know.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It was profound.
His teaching was awesome.
Yeah, man.
So
that's crazy though. Yeah,
so
like
there's that whole dark corner of history from us.
Well, I think that it's important, man, because you know how many people have been hurt inside of churches. And there's a lot of cover up going on right now with bands and churches, Christian bands and Christian churches, that people have hurt people. And I think the church, in order to heal, they have to like oust these people instead of like moving them around and letting them like hiding that it's going on because they're scared of scandal. Like, I would be more likely to go to a church who's ousted people that have been scandalized than ones that don't, because you know there's scandals that go on in every church. There's got to. Anytime you include more than 4 or 5 people in a room, there's somebody that's a predator of some sort, you know, like that's the statistics. So like churches that are willing to oust these people and talk about it. Like I respect that, because that's one of the main reasons that 99%, I keep throwing out these percentages. I have no idea, but that's one of the reasons that a lot of people don't want to go to church. They've been hurt by a priest, or they've been hurt by a pastor, or they've been hurt by some random dude at the church that everybody protects or whatever. And so, there's other people that are going through that like right now, dude. And like, so what's your advice to those people that are going through it, you know, or even like, how do they know they're being groomed, man? Like give, you know, cause I know there's kids right now that are listening with their parents, they're listening, and the chances that one of the thousands of people that are going to be watching this broadcast is being groomed right now is very high.
I wish I had that book finished.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I did too. Cause we'll do this again someday, one day.
I don't know. I started that book 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But,
well, if it ever is finished, guys, we'll broadcast it. And I'll say, here's the book that this guy right here wrote, so you can get it, because it'll be good. I remember we read kind of some of this.
Yeah, Luke, on our way back from Dearborn,
a
couple months back, he kind of read it out loud. It's like, for those listening, it's not really a book. Don't think of me as a writer, or even an aspiring writer. It's sort of done like a children's book. It's supposed to have illustrations, and then basically it takes you through the grooming process, that journey. And then, you know, at the back, it kind of has like a section where it kind of explains what's happening in each step of that process.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a good story, and I think that it really brings light to that. Most people have no idea how bad it is, and we have a kind of an insight into it. I think because when we did the record label thing, we a couple of the guys that ran the label were both sex crimes detectives, and so we were able to kind of hear.
Do your followers know about that?
They know a little bit about Nkosi Records, and our goal with that originally kind of started to reach the inner city kids and get them, like we would do little events where we'd feed people and do stuff like that. It was a good little venture thing on the side to help for a while, and then I feel like it got kind of political there at the end. It was like more about trying to get in the churches than trying to get in the streets, and so that's where kind of that went. But during that time period, we were alongside two very prominent people in Evansville, one being one person that I'm going to mention named Nathan Schroer, one of the people that was responsible, and this is when he was in the drug task force, that is responsible for being an answer to my prayer. You know, I prayed to God. I'm like, if you care about me at all, like, please show me, because I'm willing to do whatever. I don't like this life. I don't like it. Like, I'd rather be dead than live like this anymore. And so then
that story it's an awesome story.
Yeah.
And it's a testament to Nathan's character and his obedience.
Yeah.
I mean, he climbed out of bed.
Yeah. He was awesome, man.
He climbed out of bed to come see you in jail.
He did.
The Lord told him to.
He did. He said, God told me to do this. And I was like, so we were alongside him. He had gotten, I don't know if it's a promotion or change to a new department as a sex crime detective, probably a year or two after that, because he calls me up out of the blue and he's like, John, he's like, dude, he's like, what do you think about a Christian hip hop label, man? You know how he was. He was like real, and I couldn't help but be excited about it the way he was talking about it. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And then I think you were one of the first people we contacted as well. And another guy named Dom, people know him as Kentucky Dom now. Kentucky Dom, and we were doing this. Yeah, we were doing this label thing, and we get to hear the stories that they had, and just the amount of stuff that goes on here in this town is astounding. People knew it would blow their mind how many predators are going down every single day here in this town.
Yeah.
So
for everybody watching, if you are curious about the grooming process for sexual exploitation, just Google the grooming process of sexual exploitation. There's all kinds of really good stuff out there you can just find.
Educate your children on it too, I would say. I mean, because they're going to want to know. I mean, I don't know how you would educate a child on that though. Like, you don't want to be too graphic, but like that book you had, I mean, if you had that done, that was a good way. But
and really, it's like understanding the grooming process it's really good for parents and, caregivers, aunts and uncles and that kind of stuff, to really kind of be able to see the patterns of how other people are treating you or your children. So anyway, definitely, if you've not looked into it, definitely look into it.
Yeah. And I mean, we should be active enough in our children's lives, hopefully, that we should be able to notice that kind of behavior amongst people. I would think, that's how it's important to be.
I mean, some of it's just so sneaky, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, it's generosity and kindness.
Yeah.
Stuff
things you don't want to think bad about.
And things that everybody wants in their life from other people.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
It's wild stuff. So, moving forward, you've been in South Africa. You did mission work there for a very long time. I mean, obviously, the needs there for trafficking are pretty severe, and I know they are here too. But what's the trafficking like in South Africa? Why South Africa did you choose? Because obviously I don't know this for sure, but is this what happened here? Is that what set you on your path to like?
Sort of. So we were looking at with some friends at starting a church in the music venue to meet during the week.
Yeah.
And so, man, we'd been planning this for quite a few months, and then they were living in Tennessee, and so we would see them on the weekends. Either they would come up or we'd go down there, and they were in town with us one weekend, and we were at Donut Bank, and we were just kind of just hanging out with them before they left to go back to Tennessee, and obviously they were in town. We were talking about all the church stuff, and I just kind of randomly just confessed in the middle of our donut coffee time. I was just like, I don't want to start a church. They're like, what? It's like record scratch. And they're like, why? And I was just like, I don't know. I mean, there's a church on every street corner. And if somebody wanted to get some answers, there's plenty of places and ways to find those answers if they really were genuinely looking. And I was like, I know that if we start a church, I'll quit. I'll quit within inside a year.
Yeah.
I know I will. And so, a lot of stuff was like leaning on me for the use of our music venue. Cause I mean, it was ready to set up. All we had to do was just promote it and invite people to start the church. And they're like, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't know. I mean, and I'd never really thought about doing mission work until this moment, other than I wondered there was a short season before I was married. I wondered if God would ever call me to missions. Am I tough enough? So I slept on the floor next to my bed for 6 months. But I felt no call or really pull. It was just kind of a curious question and challenge that I was like, can I do it?
Right.
And so, so it's there in Donut Bank. Like, what do you want to do? I was just like, I don't know, move to Africa. And they were like, why Africa? I was like, I have no idea, because it sounds impossible, and I want to see God do something.
Yeah.
And that was really kind of, I was like, and I said, well, tell me I shouldn't move to Africa. I was like, James talks about in the Bible, true and undefiled religion is taking care of widows and orphans in their time of need. I was just like, there's widows and orphans in Africa.
Yeah.
Not Absolutely. That there isn't in America, but we'd been trying to plug along in ministry here, and I find a ministry in America it's a hard soil. We're so secular now. We're so, we have all the answers. Science has the answers. There's, comparatively to a lot of parts of the world, there's a lot of prosperity here.
It's a hard market for sure, and it's I hate to look at it like that, but no doubt, man. From what I've seen in other countries, people are begging for something, whereas here the people are begging you to stay away almost.
Yeah. And I was just like, tell me I shouldn't go to Africa and help widows and orphans, and there was kind of silence at the table. I was like, no one's saying I should go to this place, but none of you guys are arguing that I shouldn't. And then, within a year and a half or so, we were living in South Africa.
Yeah. And I remember when you guys decided to go, I was like, wow, man, that's crazy. And I don't know a whole lot about South Africa other than what I've seen on TV. I especially lately, it seems that they're getting a lot of publicity for apartheid type stuff, real strong types racism, stuff like that going on there. How dangerous is it for somebody to walk around South Africa? That's not you. You're very streetwise. Me and you've been to Lebanon. We've been to Germany.
Well, there's just a lot of just crime in general.
Yeah.
It's like street crime, petty crime, carjackings. You get stabbed for your phone, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, all that stuff is around there.
What about the trafficking? Because that's what specifically you were there to help with.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's once you begin to like study and understand trafficking, you're like, wow, that's actually pretty intense. It's really easy to traffic somebody.
Mm-hmm.
We have in our minds a lot of times that it's like a panel van pulls up on the sidewalk and, a guy jumps out and grabs you off the street. Mm-hmm. But that's often not the case. Okay. I used to do a training for new staff at our safe house in South Africa about, I think at that time, our statistics at that ministry is a safe house for trafficked women and children. We had like just over 100 people that we had helped at that ministry, since some of that was before me. And I think only one person out of 100 was actually like kept in any kind of chains or anything like that.
Was it more drug?
Well, the chains are in their mind.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of like manipulation, and I know a lot of trafficked victims struggle with thinking that they deserve what happened to them because they made the choice that ended up with them in that scenario.
Yeah.
So, without giving a big lesson on, what is human trafficking and how is it prosecuted and that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's very common.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah, very common.
Yep.
I
get
know
high populations of people in need, like in South Africa.
Yeah.
There's just more, easy access to vulnerable people.
For sure. Yeah, I'll be connecting with a person that does a gruesome ministry that does kind of trafficking in El Salvador. They don't do trafficking. They have a facility to rescue. I'm going to check that out because I like to check out ministries before I'm like, I'm going to support this ministry and I'm going to support this. I've like always supported, I wouldn't say always, but I've always in my mind anyway. And also hopefully financially sometimes as much as I could been able to help you because I've always believed in what you've done. I know that you're not a liar. That's one thing I love about you. You'll be brutally honest, even if it's like something that like most people would not say. You can count on Jesse to say it, like, and I love that, dude. Like that's a quality I love because I hate people that beat around the bush, even though sometimes it feels better for somebody to beat around the bush. But you're very honest with this, and so I remember now you're working with a group called Horizons International in Lebanon. And I'm going to have a link in the description for anybody who wants to help support because you and your daughter are going over there in September.
Yep, we're going for a month.
We're going for a month. And the ministry itself, me and you went down there last year. It's been about a year, been almost exactly a year, close to it.
Yeah, it was in June, I think.
In June, so we're very close to a year. And I saw a lot of very interesting things over there that I am so glad I experienced because I don't think people realize, like, you guys listening to this broadcast, but we're living on vacation here. Like even some of the poorest of us here, we're living in a very easy environment compared to the people there. Not only that, they worry about war, they worry about all the different things, but there's a lot of Christians there and people have no idea that there are so many Christians there. And Horizons does a lot to help those people in those situations, offering housing for displaced, food, medical help, all the different things, and you're doing stuff for them. Tell me a little bit about that experience because I've talked a little bit about going to Lebanon, a little bit about all of that, but I haven't really, like, I'm not involved as much in the ministry. I've helped you guys and I've done what I can to help, with conferences or whatnot, but like when it comes to like the actual goal and vision that you guys foresee in the future, I'd love to hear more about it from you.
Yeah. So we have a lot of really cool programs. Horizons isn't only in Lebanon. We've got like training centers and we do stuff in Kosovo, Hong Kong. We have a trainer in South Africa that does a lot of training and equipping for churches and Christians down there on how to connect and reach Muslims. and we've got some other places too. And, like we do, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I just put them together for some support raising stuff I was working on. But like thousands of Bibles we gave away last year, thousands of home visits, going to people's homes and just kind of sitting and listening with them, and sharing the gospel with them. Now, I personally haven't done a lot of that. I'm hoping to do a little bit while I'm in Lebanon in September. I'll be there for a month. But, like we also have medical clinics. We have a school that's for Syrian refugee kids. We've got like 200 something Syrian refugee kids coming to our school. And a lot of initiatives, we do like music lessons. We have a beautiful audio video recording studio there. Yeah. That we do all kinds of stuff for people all over the world. Cue the pictures when we were there, hopefully. That was a nice studio for sure. And, so we've got all of these things. But like our goal, our purpose is to bring like the saving truth of Jesus to them. Yeah. So, George, our founder and president, he's said in one of our staff meetings, like all of our good deeds are enemies to the gospel if the gospel is not in them. Mm-hmm. And that just kind of really struck me, I just think about all of like the good things that we're doing, that the church is doing globally, in our own cities in America and around the world. Like the church is doing awesome things, but if we're not sharing Jesus and leading people to Christ, then those good deeds are enemies of the gospel. I mean, they're temporary, they're temporary. It's a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. And that wound is our inadequacy before God.
Absolutely, man. Because we have to have that moment. First off, without the gospel, without actually the real salvation, which I would say that a lot of people really don't get that if they're focused mainly on their actions. But that salvation, that grace, that forgiveness, that everything that you get when you're a broken person, it makes sense when you receive it. But like, you're right, a lot of ministries aren't focused on that part of it. And I get that there's different hands and feet and all of these different things, but I feel like that has to be the main focal point of why you're doing certain things, because you can feed people all day long. There's a lot of the Masons feed people all day long. They feed, they're one of the most in philanthropy, right? So we can all do those things, which is a good thing. God says, thank you. He wants you to do those things and feed those people. But like, if we're doing it without the eternal water and the eternal food, it just doesn't make sense. So I agree with George. And then I see different methods. You look at people, the way they do certain things, and one person might have this method where they're street preaching. Another person might say, hey, let's feed these people and then speak, which I think is one of the best ways. If you can literally love a person and you have, I think, like we both talked about this, but if you have something with that person, and I think you explained it pretty good, equity the other day, you were talking about equity. If you have equity with that person, then they're more likely to receive truth from you. If you have nothing with that person and you're just like, you're going to hell because of this or that, like 90% of people or maybe more are going to be like, dude, leave me the frick alone.
And you know what? For years, I actually wrestled with that because I felt like it was a bait and switch. Yeah. Like we were baiting them in. Right. And they would bite that juicy worm, and then we would set that hook and share the gospel with them.
Fishers of men, bro.
But you know what? It's only the bait and switch it's a heart issue. It's not the deed itself that makes it like a bait and switch. Yeah. Like if we're really like moved compassionately to help these people, to bring them education or just to feed them, whatever it is. If we're really moved with compassion and love for them, with the love that the Father has for them, it's not a bait and switch.
We're fishers of men, right? That's what Jesus says, come and I'll make you fishers of men. You got to throw the net where the fish are. You've got to cast the line where the fish are. You got to put the right bait for them to get it. And it's important that we do that because Jesus did that. He fed, how many people did he feed? He separated the loaves and fed, how many ever, I can't remember off the top of my head, but lots of people.
He did it a couple times.
Yeah, he did
only counting the men, so I don't know what the number was, like 5,000.
Yeah.
Only counting the men.
We're still physical creatures, and we still need food. We still need water. We still need shelter. All of these things.
Yeah, and the negative connotations of like a bait and switch, you know, it's a heart issue.
Yeah. If you're trying to scam people too, like it's different. Like if you're not trying to scam people.
Yeah, like trying to gather your salvation numbers. Right. We got these many confessions.
Yeah. Look how many baptisms we did this week. Praise the Lord. You know,
we only had to buy 20 pizzas, but we got 50 conversions.
50 guys. Put that in the numbers. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's only, you know, I did struggle with that for a long time. Honestly, it was, it stunted the work that I could have done for the kingdom. You know,
well, it's because some people do it for the wrong reasons. I mean, let's be real. Most of these big mainstream, I'm not talking about this church or churches like it. I'm talking about the big mega churches or places like that we've both been to churches like this. They have to bring people in, whether it's through candy, whatever. And the way people donate depends on how many people they're able to get in for these missions. And it really just kind of like sets the tone for their budget. And so it's a different mindset. If you have the mindset of like, we got to increase our budget, we've got to figure out how do we increase our budget with getting more people in here. If that's the mindset, absolutely bait and switch, because you're not doing it for the same. It's not the same spirit that's behind it.
Your heart's not. Yeah. Your heart isn't in line with the Father's heart.
Exactly. Like when we did the things in the hood where we would feed the kids, those kids who knows when the last time they got food is, they're hungry. We want them there. We're preaching the gospel to us. You can call it bait and switch, you can call it whatever you want, but those kids wanted food, and they also needed the gospel. They needed like some people that were godly in their life in some way, shape, or form. So it's crazy the way those things work, because there are different methods. I get it. Like I've also talked to street preachers who are on the street just talking to people, maybe not the ones that are like screaming you're going to hell and acting completely nuts, which there are those too. I've seen plenty of those that I've even known before that are just like, dude, like you're off the Richter here. Like if you don't die in the street, it's going to be a surprise, but I wouldn't think of it as martyrdom. I'd think of it as like you harass these people to the point where they just can't stand you anymore, you know? But there are people that they'll just faithfully stand on the street corner with a sign, and miraculously there's random people that come through and it just is the right moment. So like, you know, so when you look at like methods, I mean, there's a lot of methods that can work. I think if you're connected and I think if the spirit behind it's right, you can make so many different methods work. I mean, we use media.
Yeah. I was by no means also saying that,
you
can't feed people.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just saying that, we need to check our heart
for sure.
Behind it.
Why?
And that's the difference between like the negative connotations of baiting and switching versus being fishers of men.
For sure. It's important to really think about that. Where's our heart behind it? I mean, that's the whole thing. And I try to think about that with what I do, because like there's times when Now You See TV that I do this, that I'm like, the reasons may not be there. Like I want to do it. I want to reach people. But at the same time, like I'm like in America, man, like this is getting harder and harder to reach more people because the people are so hell-bent on technology, and people, I mean, it's just a different reality than we grew up in. I mean, I know that technology's put us there, but most people are on their phones at all time. They're relying on the government for money sometimes. They're relying on their doctor for health. And we touched on this earlier, but there's such a really strong pull towards the Western way of life and civilization that is really counter to God's way in a lot of ways, because we're supposed to rely on God for our health. We're supposed to rely on God for our finances, for our food, for all of the different things. We're supposed to like put our faith in Him, work for it. The Bible says for us to work and do all the things we have to do. But like in America, man, it's just this real veil, I would say. And that's why we're called Now You See TV. But there's this veil that people have over their eyes that is really strong here in America. And so getting creative here is hard, but there's times when I get like, I'm like, man, you know, like this is really difficult. And then we see stories in places like in the Middle East or in other countries, Mexico, for instance, where people are literally begging for Jesus. They're begging for it. Like they're having visions. Jesus is pursuing them so actively. And so there's always different methods, and sometimes we do have to cast nets on the other side, you know. And I've always wondered about that with Now You See TV. Is it time sometimes to cast nets on a different side of the boat where there's more fish, you know, whatever we have to do. And I know that's your method, obviously, because you've moved missions, you've done different missions over the years. And what do you think about that? Is that something that you feel like methodology-wise with reaching Muslims or with reaching all of these different people, what does that entail? Do you become closer to like them? How do you manage, like, okay, God, show me where I'm supposed to be doing? Because right now somebody's listening that has no idea what they're supposed to do next. How do you decide that? And I know how I do it. I'm just very, like, if it seems like a good idea, like, I almost always jump on it, and then God will either shut it down or whatever. But I'm curious to hear how you do that, because I know a lot of people are waiting, and maybe waiting unneededly, or maybe whatever.
Yeah. It's a hard tension and balance to kind of walk between, like, our own personal responsibility to doing what we're called to, and also waiting on God to make that calling clear. And yeah, bro, I mean, it's a wrestle. There's honestly no easy answer to it. And it's definitely a wrestling. You do jujitsu.
Oh yeah.
And you're wrestling a guy that's 2 belts above you.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's been agony, you know, like one place to another, kind of like stepping out, you know, like following what I know is right and true and not compromising on that. And really waiting for the Lord. You know, there was a season in between from what we were doing in South Africa, working in counter human trafficking and survivor care, and then moving into like Muslim ministry. They're very different. I mean, to some degree, it felt like a career change.
Yeah.
And it was wrestling. I mean, I was supposed to be on like a sabbatical. You know, we'd been full-time for 7 years in South Africa, and a time to kind of like really lean into the Lord. But we kind of knew that we were like in a season, going to be in a season of transition, but not knowing what we were transitioning to. So we were just like, bro, we were like really just dependent on God.
Yeah. And
I would like to say it was easy, that I just really trusted the Lord every step of the way, but I didn't. I was wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, there was like this long season where I felt like the Lord was really silent in this sabbatical. And I really tried to lean into the Lord and trust and understand, and just kind of like trust and understand that I know that He has good plans for me. But we had 6 kids, and we couldn't afford living in America, and we didn't have a home, and I didn't have income coming in. And, you know, like, it was just like, Lord, am I supposed to take this job with my buddy's dad in North Dakota working in the oil fields? Or, you know, my cousin wanted me to work at, you know, a place at Intel in Portland. And so I was just like, I don't know what to do. I mean, I can step out and fix my problem right now, God, but where are you?
Yeah.
And it took a while. He gave me one scripture, and in the beginning, I think I've told you that full story.
You did, yeah. Actually, in Dearborn, you told me this story.
And in the beginning, I wasn't sure it was from him. I was just like, well, okay, thanks, God. What are the chances of me playing Bible roulette, and I pull the trigger, and I get something that, you know, lands with me? And anyway, he confirmed it by giving me a second verse that I didn't know either of these verses. And then it was actually the same verse, basically. And I was like, all right, Lord, so I'm gonna hold on to that passage, that scripture, that it is from you. And then I just held on to it. And then, you know, fast forward to Thanksgiving, during that season of sabbatical, that was back in November of 23. We were at Thanksgiving with family, and my brother-in-law, Dan, is our communications director at Horizons. And I cracked a joke about another brother-in-law of ours quitting engineering and joining full-time ministry.
Yeah.
And Dan was like, we're not hiring. Actually, we are hiring. I think you should apply for this job. And I was like, well, I don't know I don't know much about Muslim ministry.
Yeah.
And I said, let me pray about it and think about it. So I gave it about 2 days and had kind of a peace about at least pursuing it and seeing what was, what the position entailed. And so he's like, I went back to Dan and he's like, great. Well, let me have George give you a call. I'm like, okay, I don't know this George guy. And the next day after that, George called me. And I loved this dude. I mean, talk about just like spirit-filled men. George is like 75, and I didn't know it at the time, but like he's done incredible work for the kingdom.
I've been telling people
hundreds of thousands, if not into
millions, probably,
and if not into millions.
Somehow, at least indirectly,
have come to Christ through George.
At least even if it's just indirectly. I mean, because he's one of the. I think he's one of the first people, if not the first person, to translate the Bible from him and his team from Aramaic, Greek, and Hebrew into Arabic. Because before, I think it was more like Islam-friendly versions of that Bible that didn't, give Jesus the proper credentials. Yeah, he did. And millions of those copies are in Egypt and all over the world because of it. I always tell people this that I meet that haven't heard of him. Like I was at an event not too long ago. Some of the people had heard of George, some of them hadn't. I was surprised because, these people are doing, these ministries. But if there was another chapter or book of the Bible written as the apostle to the Muslims, apostle, like I feel like he's the guy. Who else in this, at least in this day and age, right? That's alive that can we think of like that. But you're right, he's an awesome guy. I got to spend time with him in Dearborn, which was really, really cool. It was my first time meeting him in person, but just dude, almost seems inhuman because of all the things he's done. He's so many things.
I was listening to Forrest Frank on my way into the church today, and I think it opens with Nathan. In the first song of the newest Forrest Frank, who's that older guy on the phone with him? Do you know?
I have no idea.
And thank you, Nathan, for being here with us, my dude. Like this is awesome. Like I'm usually sitting on the computer, like pressing buttons. I gotta switch cameras, and I'm not trying to talk, and I'm like, I feel like a scatterbrained idiot. Oh man! Talk. So this is cool.
That was a moment to shine, and I had no idea to answer your question.
I don't know if it's Billy Graham or who it was, but I was like, George is kind of like the Billy Graham.
Dude, don't compare him to Billy Graham, man.
Well, I don't know much about him anymore.
Billy Graham was, I don't know. You'll get the comments as soon as you check the comments about Billy Graham, because you're going to get so many people that just hate his guts. So there you go. Anyways, pick a different guy. Let's say
his grandfather.
His grandfather.
That's what Google AI says.
Oh, it was Forrest's grandfather? That's awesome.
There we go. I don't know who that is, but Forrest.
I guess his grandfather was a Billy Graham fan, because he brings up how he was he's like, oh, you're gonna love this, I just got off the plane and we're on Billy Graham Avenue or something.
Wow.
Yeah, it's from a snippet of his testimony from a 1985 Billy Graham event.
Okay, nice.
Anyways, guys, so
George is an awesome dude.
Yeah,
let me finish up this story about this scripture verse that the Lord gave me.
No, I just want to say this real quick. So those of you that hate Billy Graham for a reason, Jesse doesn't know about these things, so don't think Jesse's part of Billy Graham's crusades or anything. Idea. Yeah, there's weird. Look, this is a conspiracy crowd. There's weird conspiracies against Billy Graham, whether you know it or not.
Okay.
So there you go.
Interesting.
I have to inject. If it wasn't my crowd, I wouldn't even inject it. But
okay,
they know about these things. So there we go. Anyways, let's move. Yeah.
So I met this George guy. We talked on the phone for about an hour, and I got off the phone. I was just like, that's my wife's name, Emily. And I was just like, I really think I want this position with this ministry just to be in proximity to George. And then 3 months later, at the very end of the hiring process, George calls me one more time before they, send some paperwork for me to sign. And he's like, well, let me, we're all set on our end. I'll have our office send you the paperwork to sign, and let me pray with you real quick. And then he opens his prayer with that one Bible verse that I'd been hanging on to for like 6 months, 7 months. Like the first thing I heard from the Lord in more than a year, it was this one verse. And like we were traveling around the U.S. We're living in an RV, and it got to the point where I was just, every time I started to feel just discouraged, I would say this verse. And it got to the point where I would say the first half, and then my kids would echo the second half of the verse.
Wow. This is before you met George or after?
This is before I met George, when we first arrived back to the
crazy.
U.S.
So in my mind, I'd either be thinking George is listening in on my life or God's speaking to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, he opens with that verse. It was Psalm 121, for those of you who want to know that verse. Is when I look my eyes to the hills, from where does my help come? It comes from Adonai, the creator of heaven and earth.
Yep.
And he opens this prayer for me real quick, right before we finalize, stepping into the next season of my life, that affects everything about us, my family, everything about us, hitching our wagon to this, team of horses.
Yeah. At that point, had your brother-in-law been over to Lebanon yet to see operations?
Yeah, he'd been there.
So that makes it
he'd been with them for 5 years or so now.
It makes it easier too to trust, because when you're joining an organization, especially something that's like overseas.
Yeah. Well, we have a Boulder, Colorado base.
Right.
But George opening the prayer as I was just like taking this step of faith forward. That was like, without a doubt, confirmation to me, this is of the Lord. It was the only thing in probably a year and a half of like really just trying to lean into the Lord. Like, Lord, where are you? I've got these struggles. I've got these frustrations. Like, I'm not sure what to do next. Where are you? And it's silence. And then this verse pops into my head. Just the number, Psalm 121, is all that it was. I don't even know what that was before. I didn't know what that was before this moment. And then the fact that right as I'm getting ready to hitch my wagon to this somebody else's team of horses, George calls me and wants to pray, and he brings up that verse. And that just really kind of just closed the circle there of like, I know that this is where God has me. Yeah.
It's a tough one too, because out of all the missions that get supported out there financially, I would say Muslim ministry to Muslims and stuff like that are probably the least funded, especially right now with a huge kind of Zionist pool in the church. Like, everybody's donating to Israel, and what they don't get is like a lot of Christians reside outside of Israel. I mean, we're talking 30% of people in Lebanon, originally a Christian nation overrun by Islam. Syria, a lot of Christians over there, a lot of them overrun by Islam. Turkey, you name it, all those areas around there are massive amounts of Christians there that really need brothers and sisters' help. You would think in America, being a Christian nation, that we would, instead of just bringing over random groups of people, that we would probably be linking with these people.
Yeah, I know a lot of Middle Eastern Christians living in the Middle East. Yeah. From the Middle East as Christians. Yeah. Really feel kind of unseen by the Christians in the West, by their brothers and sisters.
I think most of the people we met at the Middle Eastern Center, they all like expressed that same thing to us, like at the studio there, and then and even the people that we interacted with. I mean, they really do. It's sad, kind of. You don't know what to tell them, being an American, because they love Americans over there. Like the Christians in Lebanon, they love Americans. They're absolutely they treated us like a king while we were there. Like all of those people, I feel like it was just a different kind of thing than what we were told. Like I wasn't expecting that at all. I remember when we both went, because I think my first time going was your first time going.
Yeah, it was.
And when you look at like the embassy and you see, hey, make sure you give a number for when you're kidnapped, make sure like we don't advise you going here, like, and then you get there and it's just a whole different environment. And of course, obviously there was bombs going off and stuff along those lines, but the Christians over there really do care and do love each other and do things that is not really common in the United States as much. But I feel like it's crazy because you get involved in this ministry that really it's like the least popular probably. And I'm not saying Horizons is the least popular, but that type of ministry in this day and age is the least popular, but there's more fish there and more of a environment to actually lead people to the Messiah than there is in the other environments. I mean,
yeah, bro. I mean, George has another thing that George says is we should be jealous to be a part of what God is doing.
Yeah.
And the amount of people, the amount of Muslims coming to Christ worldwide is incredible.
Millions.
Like never before in history. They're having dreams of Jesus, and then they hold on to this dream and they meet somebody that's a believer and is brave enough to just kind of talk with them, treat them like a person, love them like a person.
Yeah.
And, they open up about their dream, about a dream about this like white light.
Yeah.
A guy and all wearing light.
Yeah.
Standing across the water.
Yeah.
And he starts walking across the water to me.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that sound like, guys?
Yeah. And they even say that say it's Jesus, right? It's like he says.
Well, I don't, this particular story, this is a real story. He was like, who is this person? What is this light person?
Yeah.
And the person that was the believer that was talking to them was just like, well, let me show you a story in the book of Matthew. And, it's Jesus walking on water. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's just like, like the Lord is pursuing Muslim people.
Absolutely. And all it takes sometimes to be a part of that harvest, the Bible does say the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. And sometimes it really just takes just being there to be able to talk to somebody or, because when in my situation, I can think back to mine, but everybody's story is pretty similar. There's that situation where you're reaching out, like you don't know, like, do you care, whatever. And all it takes is that one person just being obedient, stepping forward. I mean, Nathan, he's passed now, the guy that came and prayed for me. But like, had he not done that in that moment, like we could be having a very different conversation right now. Like things might be very different. We wouldn't be having a conversation. I mean, me and you had seen each other in the times past. You were concerned about me and I was out there just doing my thing. And I didn't even really know what you had going on.
Well, Nathan is what brought us together again and crossed our paths again when we started in Kosi.
That's right.
And you were already, living as a believer, intentionally pursuing.
Yeah.
And
what year was it? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was when we first moved back from South Africa the first time. So that would have been 2000 and end of 2011, maybe sometime in 2012.
Sounds right. Yeah. Yeah.
So anyways, because of Nathan that our paths crossed again as he was pulling together this team to start this label.
That's absolutely true, man. It's amazing just people being obedient. And that's why I even do the video too. It's like there's times I don't feel like talking about some of the stuff we talk about. Like I would much rather just talk about anything else in the world, like, or at any time. Like I like just having conversations. I don't like to be like, we talk about conspiracies. We talk about all these things. And there's times when I'm like, I'm done with the conspiracies. Like I could care less about that. Like I already know there's all kinds of crazy crap that goes on in the world. I already know that. Like I don't need to like, hopefully if people don't know about that by now, their eyes are blind and forget them. They're like, your flesh goes through those times, but then God reminded me, like, I put you here for a reason. Even though you may not want to speak about those things, there's somebody that needs to hear about those things so that they can come to me. And so that's what keeps me going on that. But you're right, man. Just like being there in the place for the Muslims, I've felt the strong. That's why I've been helping here and there. Like we helped with the conference. I went with you to Lebanon. There's like this strong pull I feel towards, even if it's just foreign countries in general. I don't know. I'm in the process right now of kind of seeing where I fit in and all these different things. Like I said, I'm exploring this place in El Salvador. I want to check out that and exploring different places where I'm like, okay, like I know these people are doing the right thing. I've got to investigate and check it out for myself before I can even jump in on that. Because there's been ministries in the past that I know about that have done some pretty horrific stuff, that are doing stuff overseas. I just had Mike Edwards on. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a special ops guy. He was a Army Ranger recon guy, so like an elite special forces guy. Like he parachuted in hundreds and hundreds of times into locations, probably killed hundreds of people. I mean, just like really intense. But he told me that in his operations, he found ministries, high-level ministries, like big ministries that you will know their names. I'm not going to mention them because I don't want to get sued and I don't have paperwork to prove these things, but high-level ministries that you would know that are literally trafficking people, trafficking drugs, and trafficking weapons for the CIA. Like he's got proof, and he's saying it openly, publicly. Nobody's sued him yet, so I'm assuming he's telling the truth. I mean, you would think you get sued for saying something along those lines if it wasn't true, but I'm not going to do it because I don't have the big baller lawyer money to, go against some of these people. But that's why I brought Jesse on too. If you are looking to support, like you're looking to support somebody that is reaching this field of people, and I definitely suggest that. Like, I can't speak for all the Muslim groups out there at all, but I have been to Lebanon. I've been to Beirut. Their base is there. And from what I could see with my own eyes, and I can't vouch for, like, there could be, we didn't know about the stuff going here. There could be shady stuff going on anywhere, any organization. But overall, it looks like money goes towards helping a lot of those people there locally. I mean, a large, vast resources. Am I correct in that? But answer that question. But also, I would like to ask you, in your missions, what can people watch out for if they're trying to work for an organization or they're trying to help an organization? What are the signs to look for shadiness? And
I don't know. I've never even really thought about that.
Have you experienced that at all? Like,
no, not really, actually.
Wow.
We were always with kind of trusted organizations.
Yeah. You worked with YWAM.
So we were connected to YWAM. Yeah. I'm technically a YWAMer. They say once a YWAMer, always a YWAMer.
I've heard some crazy stories though about YWAM, like facilities, some of them.
Yeah, they're fairly decentralized. They've got like common values that everyone needs to agree with, but it's also the personality of the base leaders and stuff like that, and the staff. So yeah, I mean.
So it can differ wildly depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say wildly. I guess that's not the right word.
Even like ministry ideology, like your approach, and all that stuff's going to vary.
Yeah.
According to the leadership.
Yeah.
Of that particular YWAM base.
Yeah. So it's like, let's say I'm like, hey, I want to be in missions. I want to mission in Myanmar, or I want to go to China, or I want to do that. Like, where do I start?
Start with the Lord.
Yeah.
Ask God. Ask God to open doors. Wait. Ask Him to confirm it to you. Ask God to confirm it to you. And I really believe that He will. And are you patient enough? Do you trust Him enough? It doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. And I don't know if I failed with the gut-wrenching tension that I felt like I was just like living in. Mm-hmm. If I should have trusted Him better, maybe, I don't know. But don't move until you know that the Lord has put a thing in your path. And don't just take the thing that comes across your path. Mm-hmm. Like, ask the Lord to confirm it to you. Yeah.
I agree with that, man. I'm the kind of person that has even taken a step further. Like, I got to put my eyes on what's going on before I'll even support.
Sure.
Before I'll even support it financially, because I know billions of dollars are getting pumped into organizations that have no even intention of doing what they say they're going to do with that money. Just finding people to fund things that they're supposed to be doing. They've already got millions of dollars in funding. They don't even do it. There's organizations. So it is important where we put our money. I think, people are like, well, I give the money and it's up to them what they do with it and God's on them. Yeah, but you should also do a little bit of searching and just a little bit of past the surface and see what it is you're actually funding here, because we can put billions of dollars towards an evil organization, which is being done left and right. I mean, and I hate to even call people's name, but people like Kenneth Copeland, a billionaire, multiple billionaire, like one of the richest people in the United States, and the kind of stuff that goes on, that has been exposed, like all of the stuff. People still just dump tons of money in that, and they think they're going to be blessed because of it, because of this money magic type idea that they have. Like, give me 10, you're going to get 10. It's crazy. But if you're wanting to invest, the Bible says the widows, the orphans, and we need to invest in those people, not Kenneth Copeland's new jet, right? Or do you?
I don't know who's investing in Kenneth Copeland's new jet.
Some rich people, I guess, or a bunch of poor people. I don't know, like somebody. Hopefully nobody listening is investing in Kenneth Copeland's new jet.
If you have invested in Kenneth Copeland's new jet, put your name in the comments and let us know.
Oh, yeah. Expect hate, though, from a lot of other people, like we won't hate you, but expect it, but that's the reality, man. And I appreciate what you do. And I know that, like, over the years, you have 6 children, one more than me. We both are kind of freakish in the way that we have, like, at least in today's standards, like, It's kind of crazy to have more than
we're not Amish.
No, we're not Amish. We're just
not Catholic. We're not Muslim, but we still have 6 kids.
Yeah.
5 kids for you. Yep.
And people look at us like we're crazy. I love it personally. I think it's a blessing, like, even though it's like really hard at times, and like I'm going to be 60 by the time my daughter is 18, like my youngest daughter. So I'm not looking forward to being that old when she's 18, but at the same time, like, it is a blessing to have children around and do those things. But homeschooling, that's the good thing about missions too. Like, you can homeschool. But I think everybody should homeschool. Personally, I know a lot of people are, well, we can't. I mean, we all make sacrifices, man. I mean, my wife is a nurse, and she has not been nursing for years now, and we miss out on a lot of money because of that. But our kids aren't enveloped into, whatever the heck they got going on there. I mean, it's just absolutely sick and twisted and ridiculous. So there's sacrifices we all make. As a homeschool parent in other countries, what is that like, dude? And like, even being here and amidst the churches, I know sometimes people look down on that, but being a missionary and a homeschooler, that's like a alternative lifestyle to most people. They might think, man, this dude is nuts.
Yeah, maybe I am.
Yeah, maybe a little.
Maybe my wife is nuts. I mean, she's the one that's got to homeschool them.
True.
I'm the principal, I suppose.
I suppose, yes. Just like I suppose I'm doing something to help that process too.
I'm the principal, right?
Yeah.
I'm involved.
Yeah.
In homeschooling my kids. I don't know. We love homeschooling. It's hard.
It is.
Anybody who says it's not, I really want to know why they think it's not hard. Are they actually homeschooling?
Yeah. Dylan, anytime you deal with any kids in any capacity, it's hard. Homeschooling is even worse. Like, it is, man. I mean, it's really hard because you got, especially different personalities.
Yeah.
I got a wide variety myself, so.
Yep. I don't know.
Foreign countries, what's it like homeschooling in foreign countries?
When we'd come back to visit, we'd try and load our suitcases down with, curriculum and stuff like that. It really wasn't that bad. It's not much different than here. We were living in Cape Town, South Africa, so there's a ton of more stuff to do outside.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of more nature stuff. And so they did a lot more. They had, the ability to go to the woods or up to the mountains, and, the kids can explore, and they would build forts and stuff like that. So there was like more opportunity for outings.
Mm-hmm.
I think in a lot of ways it might have been easier over there.
Yeah.
Homeschooling.
Well, I think we should, we could talk about, probably go on for a long time about whatever. Do you think we should try to wrap it up a little bit, or how do you feeling right now?
Yeah, we can wrap it up. I wanted to share about, if anybody's interested in learning and understanding more about, like, what does Muslim ministry mean? I know that there's a lot of, like, mystery, some intrigue, a lot of fear, don't know, not sure how to connect or reach with Muslim people, but it's more simple than you think it is. And also, we're not trying to reach Muslims because they need saved out of Islam. We're reaching Muslims because, just like us, they need salvation through Christ, because of their inadequacies, because of the sin of man. And so if you can put a link up to the Horizons webpage, and people can find out more about the ministry. But we also have, George has a book called Engaging Islam, and a lot of it's got some of his testimony and some of his story in there. And he's just kind of like naturally just like a teacher. And so there's a lot, they've turned the book into a study. It has a study guide in it. So you can actually do it as a study, or you can just read it as a book. And that's a really good starting point to kind of like really learn and understand like the Father's heart, like God's heart for Muslim people, and his desire to bring them into the fold. And we're working on, I'll be in Lebanon for a month in September, like we said, to re-record our Engage Muslims with Christ training course. Mm-hmm. So if there's anybody who is interested in maybe even bringing the Engage course to their church, you can go to engagecourse.org, and there's a button there for book now, and it kind of has a little form that you can fill out and learn more about what that means. But yeah, just wanted to plug those books, some opportunities for people.
Very good. I think this is a question I get a lot, Jesse, when it comes to the Muslim stuff. Like, because around here it's not as much a problem in some places. But why do I need to minister to Muslims? I'm not going overseas. I'm not going anywhere like that. But the thing I always try to express to people is like, it will be an issue where you're at eventually. And I know that sounds really dark. I mean, it sounds scary. But the fact of the matter is, the population of them, and this is how they multiply, because they don't have a really good track record with apologetics and being able to convert people other than through violence or through population. We were just in Dearborn. It's quickly can escalate much faster than you think, even close to where we're at, Jesse, in Newburgh and in places like Bowling Green. The population is getting to a point to where it's starting to shift. The minorities are starting to shift who is the minority and who is that, and the environments that people, I don't think people understand this. If you guys are listening to this and you wonder what it can be like, Muslims can be very beautiful people, can be awesome people by themselves. You meet them out in public, you do this, but when they are centralized together with Sharia law and with all of the things that come along with it, their population, they have this hive mentality and they take over areas. We've seen it happen so many places. There's plenty of case studies for this, but America is on the path towards that happening. So we should be caring about how can we minister, because the only line of defense we really even have against these things is the gospel, because you can fight them and kill them. Our military's been spending billions and billions of dollars trying to kill them every day, and they're still here growing just as fast as they've ever been. But like the gospel and leading them to Christ just puts all of that stuff and just slays all of that stuff, and so that's why you should care. I wanted to say that because I think a lot of people think, I'm never going to minister to Muslims. I don't care. I'm never going to go to Lebanon like you idiots. I'm not going over there where the bombs are and where all these people are. And I said that too, dude. There's so many, you know how many times, Jesse, I've said like, God, please don't send me over to one of these crazy countries. Please. I'm like, I'll do anything, but just like, don't send me there. And like, little I know, like a year ago, like we're going to Lebanon when they're at war. And we got 5 kids. I wrote my last will and testament out right there in front of you and your dad. You and your dad signed as witnesses to the last will and testament, but the day before I left. Because in my mind, I'm thinking like, am I an idiot? Like I felt like the devil was like really trying to cast fear in my heart, having crazy stuff happen, like dreams and everything. And I'm like, is this the devil? Or is this God? And like, thankfully it was the devil, like giving me those dark impressions of what was getting ready to happen. But man, I mean, it's nuts, dude, that kind of crazy things God will send us on. But it's like, I wanted to do it at the same time. I think I'm the one that asked you. I'm like, man, I'd love to go to Lebanon. And you kind of called my cards on it. They're like, well, go then. You can come with me. I'm going in like a month. I'm like, oh, dude, all right. I guess I gotta do it now, So wild, man. Crazy. I just wanted to say that because a lot of people are in their mind, they're thinking, who cares about Muslims? I'm more worried about, getting cheese in my fridge or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the case may be.
Well, like what an awesome opportunity. Yeah. Acts 17 talks about how like the Lord moves, like the boundaries that separate countries and opens borders, so that people will move and live in areas and be in areas so that they can hear the gospel. And what an awesome opportunity. I think there's just under 5 million Muslims living in the U.S. And they're in all of our cities.
I figure there's that many in New York.
They're in all of our cities.
Yeah.
And the truth is, they're just people, bro.
Yeah.
And they need Jesus, and they want connection. And we can bring that connection. We can connect them to the Father, to the Creator, to their Creator.
Yeah. And in America, they have a freedom for that.
Yeah. And so, honestly, you could look at it as like fearful that they're going to like take over, but the Lord has brought them. God has brought them to our cities. You don't have to go to Lebanon.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to Syria. You don't have to go to Morocco. You don't have to go to all these places. They're coming to us.
Yeah.
And, are we willing to look at them as created by the Father, that Jesus died for them? There's a famous old guy named Samuel Zwemer that says what God can do for one man, he can do for any man. And he has done for every man.
Yeah.
And Christ did die for Muslim people. And, we have an opportunity in front of us.
Yeah. I agree, man. I really hope that more people get on that, because I feel like it's inevitable that, things are going to take a different sharp turn in America if people don't repent really in a way. But to be a part of the harvest that's coming and being able to partake in that shouldn't matter really what's going on. If we look at our first century brothers and sisters, they almost all were martyred. Almost every single one of them were martyred in some way, shape, or form. But the gospel went out so much harder than it ever went out. It spread across the entire world, despite being killed, despite being martyred, burned at the stake, starved, whatever the case may be. This is the experience that they have. And I think America is probably going to go through something like that eventually if something doesn't shape up. But I think it could be the best thing. And I know this sounds really grim and horrible, but it's like sometimes it takes like persecution. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the good news is that the Holy Spirit is already like tilling and planting in the fields.
Oh yeah.
We just got to put ourselves out there.
Yeah.
And make that connection and just talk to them.